I'm Mike and welcome to the SimRacing Den, and these are Asetek SimSports Invicta pedals. There is much hype around these pedals that feature a two-stage hydraulic braking system, and I'm very excited to try them out and see how they perform for myself. I'll give you my first impressions unboxing these pedals, cover all the features including design, build quality and performance, and then provide my overall thoughts on what I like and don't like to help you make your buying decision. This review is my honest opinions and impressions as a fellow sim racer just like you. But first, a few housekeeping items. There are affiliate links below which come at no additional cost to you if you want to pick up any sim racing hardware. I would appreciate it as we receive a small commission which ultimately goes back to the cost of running the channel. So with that out of the way, grab a drink, sit back, relax, and let's get started. Asetek's Invicta pedals are sold as a 2-pedal brake and throttle set with the option to order the clutch pedals separately, which I think was a good idea on their part since some of you may not even drive manual cars or have a wheel with clutch paddles anyways. I think all manufacturers should consider moving towards this. I personally like to have a complete set of pedals as I do occasionally enjoy throwing around the gears. Both pedals come in nice looking boxes with neat packaging, but nothing amazing, just what you would expect. In the box, you have a smaller box of hardware and accessories, including some additional elastomers for the brake, including soft and hard and the pre-installed medium. There is also a softer throttle spring if you choose to swap out the harder one that is pre-installed. They also include one of the biggest sticker sheets I've ever seen included in a product, and then the clutch pedal box actually includes a smooth replacement pedal face and again another sticker sheet. Design is important to me personally. I appreciate a good looking product and enjoy having my entire setup look a certain way, and I know a lot of you out there might too. Looks can be subjective though, as we all have different tastes and preferences, but there's no doubt that these are excellent looking products. The design may not be for everyone, but it's clear there was much time spent designing these to be both functional and look great on your rig. Everything from the black anodized aluminum base, arms and plates with CNC machine contrast cut surfaces to the burnt orange adjustment knobs and the integrated LED strip. It's truly a striking design. Now if I had to nitpick, and this may just be me, I would have preferred the orange colored parts be a satin titanium or silver look. I think it would have looked a bit more understated and blended in with any rig regardless of the color scheme you might be trying to achieve, or even the ability to choose from a few different colors, so Dan Suzuki can get purple, but that may be asking for too much. The orange is a nice touch against the primarily black parts, and it certainly looks high-end even to someone who knows nothing about sim racing, will likely complement your pedals. The LED strip is a unique touch and something I appreciate since I had already added a light strip near my current pedals. They definitely had me in mind I guess when designing these. Now no big deal if the light strip isn't your thing. You can turn it off completely, dim the brightness, or change the color. I don't think it necessarily adds much to the product. I probably wouldn't care if it wasn't there, but once you have it, all other pedal sets start to look a bit dull. When it comes to a sim racing product at this price point, you would expect to see a robust build quality, which is the case in my short time with the Invicta pedals. I had no issues with the pedals like bending or weird noises. Everything feels extremely solid because most of the material is metal and is quite heavy. You're gonna need a solid rig to mount these two in order to ensure you don't have any flex, as the high brake force that is required combined with the weight of the unit itself, you're gonna need a solid platform. While I wait for my aluminum profile rig, which will be better suited for these pedals, it's clear these are testing the limits of my soon to be upgraded TR8 frame. I did upgrade the pedal plate to their improved one last year that claims to produce less flex, but there is still clearly some noticeable flex when firmly depressing the brake. This wasn't as noticeable when driving, but just something you should be aware of. These are going to be better suited for a very sturdy aluminum profile or frame cockpit. Now it's important to mention that the pedal faces are rough and grippy, thanks to the raised CNC machined holes. It will likely be uncomfortable for longer sessions if you like to race in your socks or even bare feet. At least for me, after a few laps in my socks, I couldn't wait to get my shoes back on. I almost always wear shoes unless I'm quickly testing something out. I just find it much more comfortable. It gives me more control of the pedals and makes operating the very stiff brake more manageable over longer sessions. If you want smoother pedal plates, then Asetek sells a replacement set for the brake and throttle. The clutch pedal already comes with a smooth plate in the box, which made me wonder why they didn't just include these with the brake and throttle to suit different driving preferences and avoid any potentially negative experience. Maybe this is an unreasonable expectation, but it would have been a good move for Asetek. I would almost be 100% confident recommending you order the smoother plates if you primarily race in socks when you order these pedals. I don't think it will be long before we see more third-party pedal faces for these too. HRS is already offering a set, and based on the Asetek Facebook community discussion I started, it looks like there are several people who are already using these faces. For most who wear shoes all the time like me, you're likely going to be okay with the included faces. They do add a nice additional level of grip. Now, one issue I started noticing with the throttle pedal after running a few initial laps, and maybe issue is the wrong word, but it's more of a result of the design, was that my heel was constantly slipping and eventually making its way over the lip just in front of the pedals, ultimately getting caught in the space between the pedal arm and the pedal base. At first, I thought it might just be an adjustment issue on my end, but after changing several things including the throw of the pedal, the angle, even the angle and the height of my cockpit pedal deck as well as my seat, and even trying a few different pairs of shoes, this didn't help eliminate the problem for me. It was a bit frustrating to say the least, as it started to ruin my overall driving experience since I had now become hyper aware of it and took my focus away from driving, trying to keep my heel constantly planted. At first I thought this was just maybe a me issue, my particular cockpit or my seating position or even my specific type of shoes. So I decided to reach out on Asetek's community Facebook page to see if anyone else was experiencing this, and to my surprise many people were, and had all figured out in some way how to eliminate it, like either angling the pedal plate upwards towards themselves or using the smooth pedal plate, and some even recommended I try actual racing Sparko shoes versus my Puma Speed Cats. Even one of my affiliates, SimSportGadget, who also have these pedals, reached out after they saw my post and said they were having the same issue with their foot slipping and getting stuck. So with their 3D printing experience, they came up with a mod for the pedal base that at least fills the gap between the lip and the pedal so your foot won't get caught. They'll be offering this for sale on their website, and if you use our affiliate link below, you'll receive 5% off. Adjusting the angle of the pedal deck upwards toward myself did help a bit in combination with the smoother pedal plate on the throttle pedal. It allowed my foot to slide a little bit more freely and able to manipulate the throttle versus the pedal pulling my foot with it. I wouldn't say I'm overall 100% satisfied yet. I still need to review this over maybe a more extended period to see if it gets better or is eliminated when I get a new cockpit and have more adjustments available to me. I may even try these Sparko racing shoes suggested to me by another user, since they look really cool anyways, so maybe worth a shot. A simple fix would have been to make the lip between the base and pedals a bit taller or the angle more straighter and less smooth. This was never an issue on my previous sprint pedals, since the base plate had a nice straight lip in front of the pedals that kept my heel planted and in place. But here's the thing, despite this being an annoying problem, I'm willing to work through it because I really enjoy these pedals. The brake is just that fantastic, and it surprised me that the throttle was an issue for me. I thought adjusting to a much stiffer brake than I'm used to would have been the problem, but instead, it felt natural and right only after a few laps. As for the clutch, there's not much to say here. It performs well, has a good feeling of activation, and has loads of adjustments available to fine-tune if you're an avid heel and toe driver. Asetek claims these are the most realistic pedals for sim racing. They literally state this in the manual. I will likely never experience a GT racing car, so I'll have to take their word for it. They have taken their experience with real racing and want to replicate actual race car pedals as best as possible, meaning these are shipped with an already stiff brake pedal and an intentional 90-degree pedal angle. They say this is to replicate how an actual race car pedal would be set up, but if it's not for you, you can always make adjustments as you please, and there are quite a few that I'll detail later in the video. Asetek does encourage you to try their intended setup first and spend a few hours racing, as it takes some time to get used to, at least for me. I did exactly this and was rewarded with a driving experience I'd not yet experienced in sim racing before, and enjoyed this after the initial learning curve. It will likely take many more hours of practice to get the most out of this particular setup. This is my first time using any hydraulic sim racing pedal, so my comparison is going to be more from the perspective of having used entry-level Thrustmaster, Logitech pedals, Fanatics Club Sport V3 load cell pedals, and my daily drivers the Hoisenveld Sprint pedals, with relatively softer brake configuration and more travel. Let me first tell you about Asetek's braking system, then describe my impressions of driving. The unique brake cylinder design called Throttle stands for Twin Hydraulic Opposing Rapid Pistons. To mimic the perfect race car feel, they designed this two-stage system. The soft stage, since we don't have a brake disc caliper and brake pads in a simulator, they made the slave cylinder mimic this. The slave cylinder is compressing an elastomer, and like in a real race car, it will allow pedal travel of a maximum of 20 to 25 millimeters measured on the pedal plate. When the full pedal travel is obtained, the slave cylinder hits a mechanical stop, just like in a real race car. They supply 3 different elastomers. Regardless of which one you use though, the travel will always be the same, only how much force is required to depress the pedal and engage the next hard stage. The hard stage is when the slave system is mechanically locked. This mimics the same feeling in a race car when the brakes are fully pressed against the brake, and your muscles are pressing directly against the hydraulic forces. This is the same feeling as in a race car, and when you keep pressing the pedal up to a hydraulic pressure of 100 bar, which corresponds to 185 kilograms of pressure on the pedal plate, same as a real F1 car. So don't skip leg day. But all jokes aside, most of us won't be able to reach that amount. Asetek says that besides being able to calibrate and measure the pressure in bar, the two-stage system is precisely the benefit you'll get over mechanical brake systems. Most mechanical brake systems rely on elastomers and a load cell to give you the race car feeling. You can implement an automatic stop to simulate the hard stage, but unlike the Throttle system, your pressure readings in the simulator will also stop at that point, because your load cell will contain a physical deflect, and without deflection it will not measure. However, pressure readings will continue in the Throttle system despite the slave cylinder having reached its mechanical stop and passed the soft stage. This is what Asetek describes as the Throttle hydraulic difference. Now, what are the advantages of having a harder brake pedal? First, it should help you get around the track faster, since it has to do with muscle memory and efficient trail braking. Having a hard brake pedal allows your muscle memory to be trained. Muscle memory is subconsciously telling your muscles just the right amount of pressure, leaving your conscious mind to take care of more important things at the moment, like watching traffic or hitting the apex. Your muscle memory system is not wired to remember a position on the pedal, meaning lap after lap, your muscle memory should yield more consistent braking. Furthermore, a hard brake pedal will allow you to brake later. This was the hardest brake I've used, and I already felt and saw a noticeable difference in lap times. But I can't stress this enough, these may not be for everyone. I had some friends try them out who are not used to this type of brake, and they did not enjoy it. But like real racing, it will take hours, days, months, and even years of practice to get better at something. And what Asetek has done is provide a tool for just that. It was a more rewarding experience after mastering a faster lap, and I just wanted to keep going and push to new limits with these pedals. The throttle and clutch pedal are relatively straightforward, so there's not much to talk about outside of the adjustments. So let's move on to the number of things you can adjust on the Invicta pedals. Okay, so I've taken the pedals off the rig and I'm going to show you how to make some of the adjustments on these pedals, which is extremely simple, and that's thanks to these orange knobs here. Don't require any tools for majority of the adjustments, so which is great. You don't have to get down on your rig with an Allen key and be struggling. It's very easy to make these adjustments. I'll show you a few of those now. So the first one, we have the throttle in front of us here, obviously. Changing the pedal angles, right? So out of the box, these come at 90 degrees, which is to replicate what you would normally see in a real race car. But if it's uncomfortable for you, you can make that adjustment just by unscrewing this first knob here, the front of the pedal, and then just manipulating your pedal a bit, and then either screwing this in clockwise or counterclockwise to basically, lock that in. And then to dial it back, you're just gonna come off on that screw a bit, bring it back down, and then lock in this knob here, and that's it, and you're done. That's your pedal angle. Now on the throttle, you can adjust a few different things. The first thing is the throw here, right? So there is a stopper as well here, but if you want to adjust that throw, I like to have a really short throw on my throttle, just because I don't want to be fully extending my foot all the time. It becomes very uncomfortable. Plus I found this gave me a little bit more control and helped with the issue of my heel slipping, just not having to fully depress my foot allowed me to keep my foot in a better position, right? So it's just a matter of unscrewing this here, this orange knob, and then actually this is the only adjustment that you do need a tool, but you can use your fingers and just turn this screw up and down basically, or I should say clockwise or counterclockwise, which moves it up and down, and then obviously we'll adjust where that's going to stop. Now there is a little bit of a clunk sound on that screw. Part of what you're hearing is this table as well, but just keep that in mind. It's a little bit of it's not as noticeable when you're driving, and typically you're not going to be slamming the throttle down really quickly. So now the next adjustment is the throttle preload, right? So this is not going to change necessarily the curve of your throttle or anything like that. It's just going to adjust how much initial force is needed to press the throttle pedal down. So essentially all you're doing is, you see these two knobs here, you're going to unlock this one here, and then you're turning this clockwise or counterclockwise, which is going to make that spring shorter or longer, ultimately making it stronger or weaker to press down basically, right? So I do like to have a little bit of a stiffer throttle. The stiffer spring that's on here is great, but I adjusted it slightly just to have a little bit more initial force on the throttle. I find it helps with controlling my exit speed and things like that. So yeah, that's the throttle pedal. Now on the brake, adjusting the angle is the same with the knobs at the front here, but you do need to make sure that you basically swing out this lever which has the hydraulic cylinder attached to it. Just a matter of unclipping this clevis here, and there's a pin that comes out, and then you can freely lift up your brake, and then you can adjust the angle of the pedal, and then it's just a matter of slotting that back in. Make sure this is perfectly lined up, that's important, and then clip that on, and then make sure you secure this knob back in place. So yeah, that's pretty much it. As well, on the brake, on the back here, this spacer here, you can unlock it with the knob here, and then what this actually does is simulates the distance or the gap between a brake caliper and a brake rotor in a real car. Obviously we don't have that here, but what you have in here is the elastomer. So this is going to be, if you pull this knob back, basically it will simulate a little bit of that gap when you initially press the pedal before you hit that elastomer and then enter into the soft stage of the braking process. So that's pretty cool. I actually like to have a little bit of a gap. It just gives me a little more confidence on the brakes, because I can kind of get ready going into a corner and feel that gap, so I know that my brakes are ready. I guess it's kind of subjective, but and then you start to hit the elastomer when you apply pressure. So it's kind of cool. And if you don't want that, you just want to make sure you get that snug against the elastomer and then lock it in place, and that will eliminate all that gap altogether. Now on the clutch, I'm not going to go too much into the clutch because I'm not super familiar and I don't use the clutch a lot, but just know you can adjust the preload as well. It's the same as the throttle with these two knobs here. You can adjust the clutch curve by basically moving this unit up and down, and there's basically just pins here securing it. So there's actually just a little holder here. You would just remove these pins, and then you could basically move this clutch down, up and down, and that will change the curve basically of your clutch. And you can also adjust the throw distance as well with the same type of knob here at the bottom and the screw. And yeah, that's pretty much it. There are some further adjustments on the clutch, like bite point, but that actually requires getting underneath the plate and moving this whole unit back and forth, and not something I'm really interested in doing right now, but just know that you have those adjustments as well. So yeah, thanks to these orange knobs, it's extremely easy to make all these adjustments. I'm really happy with how they've implemented this, and I think a lot of other manufacturers should do the same. It's a great way to adjust things, especially when it's already on your rig, and makes it a lot easier. This is Asetek's Race Hub application. I appreciate that it's an all-in-one installation file for drivers and configuration, and will support Asetek's wheelbases and probably future products. It's one of the best looking sim racing applications I've used thus far, and it will likely continue to improve with further software updates. On the first tab, you are greeted with a 3D representation of your pedals. As you move the physical pedals, this is represented on the screen. Even the LED strip matches what you have set. It is a nice touch and a clear way to see that your hardware is responding. Your calibration settings and dead zones are on the next tab, which is pretty straightforward. On the third tab, you can change the pedal curve maps. There are a few to select from, or you can create your own. And on the last tab is the settings for the RGB light strip. You can turn it on or off, change the color and the brightness. Overall, these pedals are fantastic to use. I wasn't sure how I would like the brake on the Invicta pedals, but it's safe to say now that I enjoy it and wouldn't want to go back to a set with more travel or a softer brake. I will likely experiment with some of the other elastomers, but the medium elastomer felt perfect for me out of the box. Now there is a learning curve here if you're not used to this type of brake, but in the end it's extremely rewarding, and I have started to see some of my lap times improve a little bit. This is my first time using a hydraulic pedal, so I can't compare this to others in the market. Still, coming from my Huisenfeld Sprint pedals and previously Fanatec's Club Sport V3, these are definitely the best pedals I've ever used thus far in all aspects: looks, performance, and ease of adjustability. Don't get me wrong, the Sprints are still an excellent set that most sim racers will be happy with for a long time, but the Invictas offer a bit more. Is it worth the extra cost? Well, I'm not sure if it will be for everyone, and the feel of the brake also may not be for everyone. Still, with the number of adjustments available and the ease of making them, most people could get this set up to their liking. Now, a few things I didn't like. Well, the obvious issue I have with the throttle pedal and my heel slipping, which as I said will likely not be an issue for everyone, but just something you should be aware of. I would prefer the ability to also change the distance between the brake and the throttle pedal, which is not possible with this particular base design. However, Asetek does have the Invicta S series coming out, which are the same pedals but come as a separate brake and throttle, if you want control over that distance as well. It's nice to see they are providing this alternate model, and right now it's only available as a pre-order at the time of making this video. This is my first experience with a product from Asetek SimSports, and it gives me much confidence now in the brand and what they can offer. I hope for an opportunity to try out one of their wheelbases in the future. Now, when it comes to the Invicta pedals, I honestly don't have a lot of bad things to say about these in my short time using them. After I've used these for more of an extended period, I may provide some additional feedback and maybe do a longer term review. Still, I'm enjoying these pedals and would recommend these to anyone that's looking for a realistic experience and a high quality piece of sim racing hardware. And if you want to see more sim racing product reviews like this, make sure you subscribe to the channel, and if you enjoyed the video, give me a thumbs up and let me know in the comments what you think. Thanks for watching, stay safe, and happy racing.